Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benedict Joanna, and I'm a 2019 intake Master of Science in Nursing and Midwifery Education student. The title of the project I want to share with you this morning is titled Examining the Use of Case Teaching Method Among Nurse Educators in Malawi, a Case of Charm Nursing Colleges. Let me recognize the effort of Dr. M. Siska, who supported me throughout, and Mrs. M. Sauti, who supported me throughout the conduct of this study. In the outline of the presentation, I'll go through introduction, background, problem statement, just from the study, all the way to conclusion, areas of further research, as well as I'll share with you the references. As a matter of introduction, the case teaching method is defined as an approach of teaching in which a teacher plans and implements his teaching based on a story that describes an actual or realistic situation. This is an important method of teaching because it enables the learners to develop critical and adaptive skills, key skills that are necessary in our profession of nursing. As a matter of background, the case teaching method first emerged in law education, and this was around 1870, and specifically it was at Harvard Law School in the United States of America. Further evidence show that in medical education, the case teaching method was intensified in 1960, and this was at McMaster University in Canada. In nursing education, records show that the method of teaching has just recently been adopted. For instance, in Brazil, the use of the case teaching method was instituted in 1996, while in South Africa, the use of the case teaching method was intensified in 1995. The problem statement. The case teaching method is a proven, powerful student-centered teaching method, but once it is used correctly by the educator. Even the current NMT syllabus has 78% of the courses where the case teaching method is to be read as a prescribed teaching method. This is a syllabus that is prescribed by the National Medical Council of Malawi. Just shows how important this teaching method is. In 2015, a study was conducted in Malawi where only 58.5% of nurse educators indicated to have used the case teaching method that year. This study was an important study. However, it did not examine exactly how these nurse educators use the case teaching method. So, as the current stand, not much is known on how the educators teach using the case teaching method in Malawi. So, leaving this gap unattended, efforts of improving the quality of teaching with cases cannot materialize. Just on the study, this study attempts to provide the answers on the quality of teaching practiced by Malawi nurse educators when using the case method of teaching. So, based on the finding of this study, curriculum planners, school administrators, and nurse educators will design appropriate intervention that will promote the use of the case teaching method. The study's main objective was to investigate the use of case teaching method among nurse educators in Malawi. The specific objectives were to assess the self-efficacy of the nurse educators towards the use of case teaching method. Number 2 was to identify factors associated with the use of case teaching method among nurse educators in Malawi. And number 3 was to assess the instructional practices followed by the nurse educators when teaching with the case teaching method. The conceptual framework that guided the conduct of this study was adapted from Bandura social learning theory. Specifically, there is a protocol determinism model. This model entails that there are factors that are in constant interaction that influence a personal behavior. These factors that are in constant interaction are personal factors as well as environmental factors. So, taking this into perspective of this study, behavior was viewed as a teaching using the case teaching method, and personal factors were self-efficacy of the educator, education level of the educator, and environmental factors was the number of students in class as well as type of the course. So in this conceptual framework, we were guided in literature search, in data analysis, and methodology, data analysis, as well as even the discussion of the findings. On the methodology, we use a quantitative research approach. Specifically, we use the cross-sectional research design, and 8 charm colleges offering the NMT programs participate in this study. All nurse educators in these charm colleges were targeted, and by then we had 171 nurse educators. So using a question sample size formula that is there, a sample of 119 participants was required for this study. All nurse educators fully employed and were involved in teaching NMTs were included in the study. So we used a simple random sampling to select the sample to participate in the study. In this case, the researcher used 2 papers which were afforded. So one paper was written to participate, another paper was not to participate. So educators who selected to participate were recruited in the study. So we used a self-administered questionnaire in collecting data for the study, and the tool or the instrument for this was valid, and we ensure that this tool was valid in the following ways. The first place, we adapted from already existing validity tools, questionnaires, such as self-efficacy towards teaching, inventory, SETI, as well as instructional practice when teaching, instructional practices of teaching using case method. Furthermore, this tool was reviewed by 3 experts, which I counted validity, 3 experts. 2 were from Malawi and 1 from US. This expert had all of them had PhDs in nursing education. So they reviewed each questionnaire question in the questionnaire on a 4-point Likert scale, ranging from not relevant to more relevant. So all questions that were not relevant were removed, and all questions that were actually relevant to more relevant were actually maintained in the questionnaire. This tool was pre-tested at St. John's for Health in Mzuzu, and upon running an reliability test, it gave us a very good alpha cocobat coefficient of 0.9%. We used SPSS version 23 in data analysis, and this one made us to derive statistics such as frequency tables, pie charts were also derived, and failure statistics such as independent sample seed test as well as logistic regressions were also derived. Confidence interval was set at 95%. We got ethical approval from COMREC, and that was the ethical approval number. Permission to conduct the actual study was granted by the college principals of the respective colleges. On the findings, the first finding on the self-efficacy, as I indicated, that we used the self-efficacy towards teaching inventory, SETI. So this one had it was a Likert scale, measuring 23 statements on a 4-point Likert scale, ranging from not confident to complete confident. So respondents were actually rating themselves on these 23 statements, whether they're confident or not confident. So the findings show that confident or from not confident to complete confident. So the finding of the results show that on average, nursing educators have moderate level of self-efficacy towards use of case study method, because many of them scored on confident level of these 23 statements. Furthermore, we found that there are better self-efficacy scores in nursing educators who attended education workshop than those who do not attend education workshop. If you can see, the results are significant on the independent sample T test that we used. On the factors associated with the use of case teaching method, we found that it was found that personal factors such as professional nursing experience had an influence. For example, if you can see from the table that I've shown you, educators with 11 to 20 years of basic nursing experience indicate that they had 1.7 times likelihood of using the case teaching method than those with less than 10 years of experience. As you can see, the results are significant. Secondly, you can see that educators who attended formal education workshop had 2.2 times more likelihood of using the case teaching method as compared to those who never attended the education workshop, focusing on teaching. As you can see again, the results are also significant. On the environmental factors, we can see that from the results that are here, you can see that educators who had 61 to 91 students in class had 45 times likelihood of using the case teaching method as compared to those with 30 to 60 students in class. As you can see, that the results are significant as well. Similarly, on the level of students of teaching, you can see that the educator who were teaching level 3 had one time likelihood of using the case teaching method as compared to those who are not teaching level 3. As you can see again, the results are not significant. On the social practices, what this study found that 85% of these educators use the case teaching method in the last semester, and 81% of these educators who use the case teaching method, they used at least in 1 to 4 lessons in that particular semester. The study also found that very few Malawian educators put their students in teams, always put their students in teams when teaching with the case teaching method. So on discussion of the findings, the finding of moderate level of self-efficacy is a cause of concern, because studies that were conducted in Australia and Malaysia show that educators with moderate level of self-efficacy in case teaching method fail to select and integrate cases during teaching. Only those educators who had more high level of self-efficacy were able to achieve this practice, this goal. Furthermore, better self-efficacy scores in those attending education workshop, a brief study that was conducted in Vietnam, where also it was found that educators attending education workshop focused on clinical education was associated with increased level of self-efficacy of the educator. On the factors associated with the use of case teaching method, specifically on the personal factors such as on basic nursing experience, associated with the use of case teaching method. Similar findings were also observed at California Berkeley School of Nursing in the US. In that study, all nursing educators with more years of basic nursing experience, like 26 years of basic nursing experience, indicated to have always used the case teaching method as compared with those with less than 26 of basic nursing experience. The larger number of students associated with the use of case teaching method that is found in this study was an anticipated finding, because this finding contradicts a study that was done in South Africa, which found that nurse educators who had large number of students in their class did not actually use the case teaching method as compared to those with few students in class. This study also has found that more educators are using the case teaching method when compared to 2015 study, where only 58% use the case teaching method. So this is attributed to some education workshop that were conducted between 2015 and 2018. Some of them were focusing on teaching the case teaching method. Similarly, at regional level, in Malawi, results are better, because when compared to Kenya, in 2019, only 20% of nurse educators in Kenya use the case teaching method. This study has also found that the number of case-based lessons used by the educators, which is very low, to bring meaningful learning, to bring meaningful change to the student. Because scholars such as Peter Serobi propose that there should be a continuous use of the method throughout the semester if the learners are supposed to benefit from this method. Oroli and Nye suggest that at least there should be more than 8 case-based lessons that a teacher should expose these learners to, for if you want to bring them critical thinking, advanced skills they want to be boosted by these to the students. On the instruction practice, the finding of not putting students in teams when teaching the case teaching method by the educator is not a good practice, because case method is best facilitated when students are put in small teams. This also it is also observed in study that was conducted in South Africa, where educators who had large number of students in class struggled to facilitate a case-based lesson as compared to those with less student number in class. So based on these findings, the following are the recommendations. Nurse educators in Malawi need to participate in activities that can improve their level of self-efficacy, such as attending graduation workshop, as well as maybe also attending CPDs. Camp secretary and college managers should mobilize resources and organize short courses for educators that focus on teaching methodology, including such as that one that focus on use of case teaching method. Those responsible for employing nurse educators should consider the year of baseline experience of the applicant, as well, and see that educators with more years of baseline experience had likely of using the case teaching method as compared to those with less years of experience. Here we promote that we advocate that at least should be more than 5 years of baseline experience as compared to the current one, which is 2 years only. The study limitation, we had one major limitation for this study. That was sample selection bias. Honest educators who were available at the day of data collection were involved, and those who were on holiday and were off duty were not actually involved in this study. In conclusion, this was a quantitative question of the study design. It was aimed at investigating the use of case teaching method among nurse educators in Malawi, and the results show that the Malawi nurse educators have moderate levels of self-efficacy in the case teaching method, and factors such as better nurse experience, addition to courses of teaching methodology, and number of students in class influences the educator in using the case teaching method. Area for future research. Future research can further be conducted in the following areas: the experience of nurse educators in using case teaching method, which is a qualitative study. Number 2, evaluation of case study teaching method in Malawi, a student perspective. Thank you so much for your attention. This is what I had for you, and this is some of the references that are used in this presentation. Thank you.